Hi there, this is Kelsey, a kidney dietitian. I'm so excited to be with you today to share one of my favorite kidney-friendly recipes. This is a kidney-friendly stir-fry recipe. We're going to be using some vegetables, some tofu, rice, and a great low-sodium stir-fry sauce. This is a great option that is really easy to make, especially if you have a really busy schedule and you are looking for something quick, delicious, and that fits within your kidney-friendly diet. So maybe it's lower sodium, lower protein, maybe even lower potassium. And remember that when you are watching this video, that everyone with CKD has different nutrient needs and a different kidney-friendly diet that may work for them. So what works for you might not work for someone else. Always be sure to check with your healthcare provider and dietitian when it comes to following a kidney-friendly diet. So first off, on today's cooking demo, we are going to be cooking up some vegetables. And so vegetables are a really important component of eating a kidney-friendly diet. And I have some beautiful frozen vegetables right here with me that we're going to put into this lovely pan right here. And all we need to do with these frozen vegetables is that when we are buying frozen vegetables in the store, we want to make sure that the only ingredients are the vegetables themselves. This makes sure that that frozen vegetable is low sodium, doesn't have any phosphate additives or any other additives that may be harmful for CKD. And so I see a great question from a viewer here about the difference between frozen and fresh veggies. So frozen vegetables are basically the same as fresh vegetables. They have the same nutritional components and values as fresh veggies. And the only difference is that typically frozen vegetables may have some added things in them. Maybe you'll see an added sauce, some salt, some seasoning, some butter or oil. So again, it's always a good idea to make sure you read the back of the nutrition label on that package of frozen vegetables. Otherwise, they're a great option if you don't have any fresh veggies. Maybe the ones you want aren't in season. Or maybe you just want something really quick and easy. You don't want to chop any veggies up, which is usually my go-to. So all we need to do here is use an oil of our choice. We have olive oil here. You can use avocado oil too. Those are some great healthy fats to incorporate into our meal so that it's keeping us full, satisfied, and making sure we're full and enjoying our meal until the next time we eat. So you can put about a tablespoon or so of olive oil. If you like less oil, I would suggest using about a teaspoon. And then we're going to add our veggies into our pan right here. And I'm adding 2 cups of vegetables. So you can cook it on about low to medium heat. It's getting very sizzly in here. And so we are just going to let these veggies cook. This is the first part of our kidney-friendly meal. So it's a great idea to start cooking your vegetables right off the bat so that you can prepare the other components of the meal while the vegetables are cooking. So the next thing we want to prepare is our protein source. And so whenever we're thinking about making a balanced meal for CKD, it's nice to have some vegetables, some protein, some fats, and some carbohydrates. So we checked off that vegetable component of the meal, but now we're moving on to the protein component. And we are using tofu today. So this is a block of lovely tofu here, as you can see. And tofu is a great plant-based protein source for kidney disease. But you might be saying, well, why do I need a plant-based option? I see a question here from a viewer. Why are you using tofu? Can I use chicken, shrimp, or beef instead? This is a great question. And yes, you could use any of these protein sources. However, a plant-based diet and a lower protein diet has been shown to really help slow the progression of CKD and manage symptoms like high blood pressure, diabetes, things like that. So choosing a plant-based protein source can be really helpful when it comes to managing chronic kidney disease. So tofu is a great plant-based protein source. You could use other plant-based protein options like edamame, beans, legumes, Nuts and seeds are great options. Chicken, beef, shrimp, salmon, turkey, those are going to be considered animal protein sources. And so they're going to be a bit higher in protein, and they are going to contribute a little bit more to some stress on our kidneys, which we don't necessarily want. So you could try to make this version of a plant-based stir fry instead and see how you like it. What we're doing here with the tofu is we're draining the water out of the tofu. You can just open up the package, drain the water into the sink, and then cut up your tofu into little cubes about 1 inch thick. Okay, and then I'm putting it into kind of a large bowl, and I'm just going to chop up the entire package here. So it's going to make quite a bit. And then to get our tofu actually tasting good, because that's one of the most common things I hear from a lot of people who maybe are a little hesitant to try tofu or plant-based protein options, it's that they don't really taste that great, right? So to make it taste good, we have to have a couple components. We have to have some flavor and we have to have texture, right? Tofu can be a little off-putting for some people. So to make it a little bit more appealing, we're going to make it a little crispy. And so the way to do that is, again, to cube up your tofu, about 1 inch cubes, put it in your bowl, and then you can coat it with oil if you're looking to add in maybe extra calories. Some people with CKD might have trouble maintaining their weight or gaining weight, and that's a goal for them. So you could definitely drizzle with some oil here, or you can use the natural moisture from the tofu as the water component, the liquid component, to make this next ingredient stick. We are going to add cornstarch. So I just have about 1/4 cup of cornstarch in here, and I am going to coat my tofu with that cornstarch. Super easy. And you can take a rubber spatula and basically just mix your tofu up with that cornstarch, coat it evenly, as you can see here. And that cornstarch is going to help the tofu become a little bit crispier. So it's going to be tastier for a lot of us. All right, so we have that texture component here with that tofu. And then we're going to add flavor at the end of our recipe. And I see a great question from a viewer here. What are other ways I can add flavor without adding salt and sodium? That is a great question. So when it comes to following a low sodium diet for CKD, that is what's typically recommended for most people with chronic kidney disease. Always check with your doctor and healthcare team first to know how much sodium you need. In general, the recommendation that is out there for the US is about 2,000 milligrams of sodium a day. So if we are using high sodium seasonings, high sodium sauces, that can add up pretty quickly. So some of my favorites are garlic powder, ginger, you can use fresh or powdered. Onion powder is a great one. Black pepper. And then I love to use coconut aminos. This is going to be the main component of our stir fry sauce today. Coconut aminos is a lower sodium option compared to soy sauce, but it looks identical. So this brand is Coconut Secret, as you can see here. And it's simply just called coconut aminos because it's made from coconut. But the only ingredients are coconut, tree sap, and salt. Okay, now when we look at the nutrition label here, the sodium for 1 tablespoon of coconut aminos is 270 milligrams of sodium. For 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, it's about 900. So you can see the difference there. It is more than half of the amount of sodium in lower in sodium than the soy sauce. So this is a great soy sauce alternative to use, coconut aminos, to add that flavor without adding extra sodium. So I see another great question. Can I have soy sauce with CKD though? That's a good question. So soy sauce is going to be a high sodium flavoring component. Now, if you're being very mindful and measuring out your soy sauce with a measuring spoon, it could fit. But if you wanted more bang for your buck and really wanted to get the most flavor out of your foods, I would opt for coconut aminos because you can have more of it for the same amount of sodium as soy sauce, right? So now that we are done coating our tofu, so you can see here, we are going to add it to our veggies. Now, you can add the entire bowl here of tofu. And so if you are maybe not a fan of cooking on the stove, you can also cook the tofu or the veggies in the air fryer if you wanted an alternative. And that makes things really crispy as well because of that air fryer component versus the stove here. But this is also really easy because you can make it all in almost one pan. So I'm just going to mix everything together, and you can see we have our tofu, we have our veggies here, and I'm turning up the heat a bit so that we can crisp all of this up. So I'm putting it on high right now, and we're going to let it sit there while we make our stir fry sauce. So we are going to take some of these coconut aminos and take a small bowl, doesn't have to be big, and we're going to measure out, 2 tablespoons of coconut aminos, which again is still about half of the sodium in soy sauce. So we're still getting a lower sodium alternative here. And then remember, when you are making sauces or choosing soda or seasonings or condiments for your meals, that, if you're making a meal for more than one person, whatever condiments are going into that meal and contributing sodium, it's going to be split up throughout your entire meal, right? So you're not getting all of these coconut aminos in your portion unless you're eating the whole recipe yourself, right? So just keep that in mind. So we have our coconut aminos here. Some other things I like to add to this to add flavor. I like to add my black pepper. So you can add about half a teaspoon of black pepper to those coconut aminos, adding it all to the same bowl. You can add about half a teaspoon of ginger powder and a full teaspoon of garlic powder if you really like garlic. Some people don't, that's okay. You can change it up. Some other great low sodium, no salt added seasonings are Dash seasonings, formerly Mrs. Dash, but now she changed her name. And they are a great way to add that flavor. And I often get asked, well, I thought Mrs. Dash or Dash seasonings weren't allowed with CKD. That's just not the case. They don't really have any nutrition in them because they're made with just herbs and spices. So that is a myth that we can definitely dispel right now. Mrs. Dash or Dash seasonings are a great option. And then I'm also adding some fresh garlic. As you can see, I'm a garlic lover here. Garlic adds so much flavor to our food, but garlic really doesn't have much to it. Now, in large quantities, garlic can be high in potassium, but in general, if we're having a couple cloves of garlic to our meal, it's a great way to add that flavor. Garlic has also been shown to have anti-inflammatory effects on the body, which is great for CKD, which often brings some inflammation to the body. So again, I'm just adding this garlic right here to my stir fry sauce mixture. And now we're going to stir it all up. And there's some different variations that we could do here. So we could add some honey for more of a sweet and sour type of sauce. Remember, I'm not a chef here, but we could also add some peanut butter. I have peanut butter sitting over here for more of a savory and sweet type of situation, like a peanut sauce. So you can change it up. But just remember that whatever you're adding, you should count that nutrition in your recipe as well. So it can be helpful to use a food tracker. I love Chronometer to kind of mix and match and customize your recipes that you're making and see what the nutrition is in those recipes. All right, so we have this beautiful stir fry sauce here. And I don't know if you can hear this, but everything is crisping up so lovely. Oh my goodness. And I can actually see a perfect little piece here of tofu. I'm going to hold it up for you. Look at that nice brown on that tofu. That is how we know that it's getting crispy. So again, this is on high heat because we have a lot of components in this dish that we need to heat up right now and get crispy. And this is probably going to take about 10 minutes to crisp all this up and make it really beautiful. But while that's crisping, we can add our stir-fry sauce. And we are going to drizzle that over. And then you can kind of scrape it clean so that you get all of that beautiful sauce in there. Oh my goodness, it smells so good, that ginger and garlic. And look at that. All right, so we got that stir-fry sauce on there. We're going to let that cook a little bit more. It's going to sizzle. So keep your ears peeled for that. All right. So the last component here of our dish, we have our tofu, we have our veggies, is our rice here. So this rice is already cooked, but you can buy really any rice that you prefer, cooked, in a microwavable packet, frozen and pre-cooked that you just heat up on the stove, or dry rice as I did here. And you can see that I have white rice because this is what I had on hand, but white rice is not the only option for CKD. I actually suggest brown rice for people with chronic kidney disease. And the reason why is because brown rice is a whole grain. And so when we are talking about whole grains, they have more fiber, vitamins, minerals than more refined grains like white rice, white bread, white pasta. So fiber and vitamins and minerals are extra important for CKD. So we want to get in those whole grains when we can. The recommendation is we want to make our whole grain choices about 50% of our total grains for the day. The more, the better, obviously. More fiber, the better for CKD. Fiber helps to manage cholesterol, blood sugars, cardiovascular health, as well as our bowel movements too. And I see a great question here from a viewer. I thought brown rice was off limits for CKD. Yes, this is a common myth I hear, but the answer is actually no, it's not. And the reason why is because white refined grains are suggested to be limited because you don't get that whole grain aspect in there. So there's going to be less fiber, less vitamins, less minerals in those white refined products. So if you love brown rice, definitely give it a try. It's going to have a little bit more fiber, a tiny bit more protein, and some more vitamins and minerals. And if we take a peek over here at our stir fry, this is just browning up and crisping up so nicely. We're going to let that cook a little bit longer so we can get a nice brown on it. All right. So what we're going to do is we are going to serve this beautiful stir fry with tofu and veggies and our low sodium sauce with our rice. And now you could add the rice to the dish and make it kind of a stir fried rice. But I also like to have it on the side to really, know that I'm having that balanced meal. So just to review those components of a balanced meal with CKD again, we have our rice, which is our carbohydrate. We have our tofu, which is our plant-based protein source. We have olive oil that we use to cook the veggies, which is the healthy fat. And then we have veggies, which is crucial for every meal with CKD. The more veggies, the better. And then, of course, we have our flavor components, which make our meals more satisfying and allow us to enjoy them more, which is really important, right? We can hit every component of our meal, but if our meal doesn't taste good, what's the point? We want to enjoy our meals, and you can do that when you have CKD. It is possible. All right, let's check on our tofu and our veggies here. This is looking Wonderful. So what we're going to do is we are going to add this to our plate to serve it. I'm so excited. So you can use a measuring cup to scoop this. This makes about 4 servings. So if you are making it for your family, this is a great family-friendly dish. Or if you're making it for yourself or your significant other, you can keep the rest in the fridge for the week and have it as leftovers too. I'm going to turn down the heat here and scoop in my tofu and veggies. Oh my goodness, it just smells so amazing. Beautiful. And then I'm going to scoop my rice onto the plate for my carb component. And oh my goodness, I cannot tell you how excited I am to enjoy this dish here. And if I can show you, let's push that away. Look at that beautiful dish. Now, to add some extra pizzazz to this dish, you could squeeze a little bit of an orange to add a little citrus flavor. You could do some lemon or lime. You could also sprinkle sesame seeds for a little nutty seed texture and flavor. And you could also season your rice with some of the same seasonings we used in the stir fry sauce, or you can add a little drizzle of coconut aminos to that to add that flavor as well. Now, one last thing I want to touch on is potassium. Potassium is often a nutrient to be mindful of when it comes to CKD. And so potassium is very individualized. If you don't need a potassium restriction, it's not something that you typically need to worry about. So if you are sitting here saying, Kellsey, I need a potassium restriction, no worries, I got you. So you can use lower potassium veggies instead of regular veggies that might have higher amounts of potassium. So some lower potassium veggies would be broccoli, cauliflower, celery, arugula, kale, onions. These are great sources of veggies, but you're not getting in all the potassium as in things like spinach or potatoes, those higher potassium veggies. Also, carrots and beets are another source of high potassium veggies there. And remember, everyone's CKD diet is going to be different and individualized to fit what your kidneys, what your body needs. So always check with your healthcare provider and dietitian to make sure you're on the right track. So again, here we have our beautiful kidney-friendly stir fry with rice, tofu, and veggies here. I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and I hope to see you again soon.